Well, in obedience to God's word, we're now going to turn our attention to communion and reflecting on what Christ did for us in his sacrifice for us on the cross. And the thoughts that I'd want to share tonight were inspired by 1 Peter 1, verses 18 through 19, if you'd like to turn there. They're familiar verses, I'm sure, to everyone, but 1 Peter 1, 18 and 19, Peter writes, knowing that you were not redeemed with perishable things like silver or gold from your futile way of life inherited from your forefathers, but with precious blood as of a lamb unblemished and spotless, the blood of Christ. Before becoming to Christ, because of our sin nature, our situation was bleak. We were all slaves to sin and Satan and faced the righteous justice of God. We were under a sentence of death. We were doomed to his wrath. This miserable condition afflicted all of mankind until Christ came to ransom sinners. And consider how horrific and costly was our redemption to Christ. The cost was his precious blood. The very one who created heaven and earth himself became a creature, born of a woman, and poured out his blood on a cross for us. This was the awful price to be paid before we could be redeemed from sin. One Puritan saint prayed this beautiful prayer, Lord, I'm an unrighteous creature, but here is justifying blood. My heart is unholy, but here is sanctifying blood. My soul is wounded, but here is healing blood. My lusts are strong, but here is mortifying blood. My heart is hard, but here is softening blood. My affections are dead, but here is heartwarming blood. Oh, my glorious bleeding lamb, if you will, you can make me clean. Oh, say to me as you did to the leper, I will be clean. Surely your blood is more able to save me than my sins are to destroy me. Just a few observations on this and these verses in 1 Peter. First, we see here the amazing love of Christ and shedding his blood for sinners such as we, who were created in the image of God, but became the image of Satan. We were enemies of God. We were unworthy of notice. We were dead in our transgressions and sins, and yet he loved us so much as to shed his own blood. This precious blood is of infinite value and is completely effective to purchase for himself those for whom he died. This blood saves to the uttermost. Also, in the blood of Christ, we see an incredible reconciliation of the justice of God and the mercy of God. Who but an infinitely wise God could have found a way to satisfy both his demand for justice and meet the great need of this fallen race? And yet, he did. And finally, this precious blood is a remedy for all of our many needs, our diseases, our ailments. We just need to look at it by faith and apply it to all our needs and plead it with God. And so as those who have placed their faith and trust in the finished work of Christ on the cross, we come to this time recognizing the depths of our sin, the comprehensiveness of it that caused Jesus' precious blood to be shed for us so that we could be reconciled to a thrice holy God.